Starting off, I want you to think about what is the biggest challenge that busy professionals face these days. Think about your life, think about your workday, the tasks you worked on, and what you accomplished. Now, talking about busy professionals, I have worked alongside finance professionals for a long time. They're a smart bunch, highly skilled, highly trained. They tend to come with these three-letter acronyms: FP&A analyst, CPA, CFA, and the like. But this talk is not just for finance, because the problem I'm about to describe applies to almost everyone. And here is the challenge. These highly skilled, highly trained folks are subject to an insane amount of drudgery, just repetitive, meaningless work. They're struggling wrestling with data instead of doing their real jobs. Our goal at PowerPivot Pro has been to use Power BI to transform their lives, so they spend less time wrestling with data and more time doing real value-add activities. The work that they were hired to do, the work that they in fact enjoy doing. In essence, go from data drudgery to data joy. So we're going to walk you through the journey of one of our clients and talk about the elements we used to take them on that journey. So here the content we'll cover, and let's go ahead and dive into the dashboard. So you notice the mountain at the top right corner. So we're at the high level, we're at the top of the mountain. So dashboard is the high level overview. It gives you a pulse of the business. So we're going to switch to the demo. Let me start the screen share. So here you have a Power BI dashboard. Again, it's very configurable. You can move and resize tiles just the way you want. And this being a financial dashboard, you would see kind of financial elements here. And we have laid this out in a vertical layout. So we scroll down and you would notice these section headers here. So we have the COGS section, operational expense, and further down we have some headcount information. So again, also the business high level numbers, right? So to set the context, so this dashboard and this whole demo I'm going to be doing is frozen in time. It's frozen at the end of fiscal year June FY16. So that's what we're looking at. And here's the cost of goods sold. And let's look at some of the metrics that are being shown on the dashboard. So two views were important to the customer here. One was quarter to date and year to date. So we see the quarter to date actuals and variance and year to date actuals and variance. And the quarter to date variance was blown out into further detail based on the organization hierarchy. Hey, who is spending that money? This is expense, by the way. And what are they spending on? What kind of spend is it? That's the account hierarchy. And then there was a specific focus on discretionary spend. And you can see the buckets down here. There's recruiting, training, morale, and so forth. So the bottom tiles here are focused on discretionary spending. So we have these metrics for cost of goods sold. Then if you scroll down, you see similar metrics for operational expense. And then we have high-level headcount information to go along with that. Perfect. So let's go back here. So you just saw that dashboard in my desktop. Now the best thing about Power BI is that the same dashboard, without any mouse click, without any piece of code, it lends itself seamlessly onto mobile platforms. So let's try to take a look at the same dashboard in a mobile app. So I'm going to try to play a video. So you can see I'm opening the dashboard on my mobile platform. I can scroll through the tiles, and all of that was laid out automatically for the mobile layout. I can expand a tile and look at more detail. And if I care to, I can annotate something and share it with a colleague, maybe send them a note to look into something further. And again, the dashboard you didn't have to do any extra work to enable the mobile platform. So that was a quick mobile demo. And if you think that you can ignore mobile, chew on this. Think about a recent survey suggests that you could potentially double the BI adoption in your company by delivering reports to mobile. Now, of course, with Power BI, you kind of get mobile for free. So your report is going to be used by lots and lots of users. And that could be a challenge, or certainly proved to be a challenge for us. So our BI platform was catering to a pretty large audience. This was an organization with a specific hierarchy, different departments, different teams within that. And the challenge was that each of these units, each of these teams wanted to look at the same kind of metrics, the actual, variance, and so on and so forth. But they wanted to see their own slice of the data. Hey, Ryan, Chuck, there seems to be some interference. Maybe you can look into that. All right, so carrying on. Yeah. All right, thanks. All right, great. So there are these different people who want to look at the same data, but they want to look at their own slice. And the group that we were catering to, we had about 50 different organizational units, and each wanted to look at its own slice. So we considered different alternatives to deliver that for the dashboard. One option was you can pin a report page along with slicers and everything, and it remains fully interactive. Now, we didn't go that route because a pinned live page doesn't lay out quite as well on the mobile platform. The other option, of course, is to just create copies of dashboard. But as I mentioned, we had 50 different teams to cater to, so this just didn't seem scalable. I mean, if we later wanted to make one change, now we would have to do it on 50 different copies. So that was out. Content Pack is a great option, but some of the audience we were catering to were kind of high-level senior executives, and Content Pack just leaves too much work for them. You know, they consume the published Content Pack, to change it, customize it. We wanted to make this easy for them. So the route we took was row-level security. And the way we structured was, we pulled in the organization data from the HR system. So for each individual, we knew already, the model knew which organization or group they belong to. So if, let's say, John came in, we said, hey, you belong to the cloud team, and row-level security filtered the data set just to that team, and hence the dashboard was personalized and showed them their slice of the world. And similarly, if somebody else came in from a different team, they saw their own slice. Great, so that was dashboard personalization. Now, if you notice the top corner, we're moving down the mountain. So dashboard was a high-level view, the pulse of the business. Report is the next click detail. So let's look at a live report. So here we are at the dashboard, and typically you would see something interesting and you can just click on tile to dive down to the report level. So I like structuring my reports by showing the top high-level numbers up top. So this is showing, hey, what are the actuals, what is the variance percentage, and some sort of KPI. And then on the left side, we are showing variance by organization. Again, this is who is spending that money, and similar detail in the table. This is a special element. I'll talk about that later, cost per head. And over here, I'm showing by account hierarchy, which is what did they spend on? What kind of spend was it? And again, table, and then that focus on discretionary spend. And again, the metrics would vary. They would be, obviously, you would customize it to what your organization focused on. But what I love about the report is the built-in interactivity. So certainly there are slicers here, quite like Excel slicers. So I can just filter on cost of goods sold and say, hey, just show me that. Or any of the graphical elements shown here also have interactivity built in. So I'm looking at variance and I can say corporate, and I can just click on that, and the rest of the report is going to filter down just to show corporate. And I can see in corporate, the unfavorability is coming more from external resources. And not just kind of click, it has drill down as well. So I can right click, drill down, or use one of these touch buttons if you're on a touch device like a tablet. And I'm going to drill down to one more level. And again, it's still interactive, so I can click on a specific element and see where, for instance, in this case, well, hot core, the unfavorability is coming from people. So you can analyze it based on org, or you can go the other way and you can say, hey, manufacturing, who is contributing, which group is contributing to the unfavorability? And we can see here that's coming from corporate, but is also coming from marketing. Well, keep in mind this is just random made up data, so it might not make absolute sense. Great, so a lot of that stuff that you saw actually comes really easy, comes really cheap with Power BI. Once you build the data model, and you can do that in Excel or Power BI desktop, once you build the data model, you establish the relationships, define simple measures, and all of this slice and dice you get for free. But we have here what I call smart controls. And for these, you have to leverage the formula language of Power BI, which is DAX. And if you look at our book, Power Pivot and Power BI, probably 90% of that is devoted to DAX, because DAX really is the beating heart of a Power BI data model. So here, this just gives you a flavor of what DAX can accomplish. So you noticed here that it's showing you the actual expenses and it's showing you variance. But variance against what? As it turns out, we had two numbers to contend with: budget, which was set at the beginning of the year, and forecast, which is done at every quarter. And finance, this group sometimes wanted to compare things against forecast, sometimes against budget, and sometimes against the prior year. And with these options, they can just control this whole dashboard. So right now it's showing you variance against forecast, but I can just select budget and the whole report changes, updates right away, and now it's showing me variance against budget. So I can flip that view back and forth. And another control you notice up here is kind of the time selection. And these are the classic views that I saw the financial group using. So either they were looking at the current month, which is the closed month. And again, remember, this is frozen in June. So if I select current month, it's only going to show me, well, let's try, oops, what happened there? Okay, let's reload this. So those slicers would let me toggle back and forth between a current month view, which should be June, there we go, or I can look at quarter to date, which is going to be April to June, or I can look at year to date. And again, you don't have to leave the dashboard. These smart controls let you tweak this setting or let you tweak the comparison. Great, let's go back there. So that was our view of the report. And what I highlighted was the full interactivity, click, drill down, slicers, all of that, and the smart controls and all the smart measures you can build using DAX. There's one other element which I'll save for later, the cost per head. All right, great. So now we're traversing further down the mountain, and gosh, all of you analysts out there, you know that, hey, when it's time to roll up your sleeves and dive into the data, there's nothing better than Excel. And we love the fact that Excel just seamlessly works with Power BI. So let's go to a demo for this as well. Where's my Excel sheet? There it is. Now this Excel report is connected to the same data model. I didn't have to recreate anything. And in fact, I often think of Excel, the way you see it now, as a visualization layer. I mean, this is just a dummy layer. It's not doing any of the hard work, any of the heavy lifting. All of that is being done at the model level. So here you have kind of the same elements. This is a curated view, so it's showing you kind of the current month, the quarterly trends, variances, full year, and so forth. And you have what we call the control panel up here. So you can dive down and look at something specific. So I can say, let's try it again. So I can drill down to a specific team. Okay, it's not going to work now, but you can use this to navigate within the team. Let's see if this one works. Probably not. All right, well, but you get the idea. So Excel reports let you really slice and dice and get deep into the data. And we have additional views here. So we have trends and reports, and you can see there are multiple tabs here. So all of these are built off of the same data model. And if this looks fancy, well, this isn't. This is a simple pivot table, and some of the headers are some Excel formulas and so forth, but overall this is simply a pivot table connected back to our data model. That's all that is. So again, Excel, Power BI, they go great together, and if you look at other tools, a lot of them beat up on Excel, and for no good reason. Excel is probably the most ubiquitous BI tool that's out there. So being able to leverage and use a tool that you have probably used for years and are very comfortable with, that I feel is data joy. So we have seen the Power BI dashboards, Power BI reports, and they're great. They offer you a lot of functionality. But if I ask you, how many dashboards or reports would it take for you to be able to answer each and every question that any person in the organization may ever ask? Well, of course, the answer is that that's just not possible. No amount of dashboards and reports are going to be enough. And I'm so glad that there is the natural language Q&A. So this is a quote from a recent survey, and analysts have felt this pain. A lot of business users, even for minor, small, basic questions, they still go to analysts to be able to answer that. Now, of course, that's the data drudgery we're talking about, right? If you're busy answering these small questions, even if it takes you 5 minutes, it can be a case of death by 10,000 cuts. So that's what we want to avoid. Natural language Q&A gives the business users a way to just query the data set and ask the question that they want. So let's see that in a demo. So we're going to switch over to here, back to our dashboard, and on the top left you probably would have noticed there's this box which says ask a question about your data. I'm going to click on that, and when you click, you can type in any question you want. However, model authors can set featured questions. So these are curated questions just to lead the users on, especially the first time they're here. So you can just populate some basic questions, most frequently asked questions, and give them something to get started with. So I have a few of these here, just some basic ones. But let's try to play with the first ones. This one is T&E budget, and I'm going to highlight some of the elements here. Let's see if this works. So we have in any element you see underlined by yellow is understood by the Power BI Q&A engine. In fact, you can click on those and change these. So T&E, this is actually not a field, this is a value in one of the fields, but it understands that, and when you click on it, it lets you change to a different value. You can change to, say, morale or recruiting, and notice the budget changes right away. I'm gonna switch it back to T&E. Great. And instead of budget, again, it shows you different options you could pick. Maybe we pick actual. Instead of the procurement team, we can pick a different team. And of course, the whole point of this is being able to just type something in. So if I wanted to get some more detail, which wasn't there in the featured question, I can just come in and say, hey, show me the budget and show me the variance to budget, right? And you see it just shows the answer right there. So that's great. So Q&A can help us answer the questions, but maybe for some folks this is still too much work. And you actually have to open the browser, they have to find the right dashboard, click on the button and ask the question. But what about Cortana? I mean, that's built into Windows 10. What if we could ask our question right here? And you can. Gosh, you can speak into the microphone as well. I'm not going to attempt that for the demo. I'm just going to type in a question. So let me say I'm curious about how much money do I have left for me to spend. So I'll say remaining by line item, and you notice if it finds matching results in the Power BI dataset, it shows that to me here, and I can click to open it within the Cortana pane. I don't have to open a new window, it opens right here, and this is interactive, so you can hover over it. If it was click, you could click on it, and it's possible that I'll get my answer right here, right from Cortana, right from my desktop, without having to leave anywhere. But if I wanted to see more detail, then if I scroll down, there's a handy link that says, hey, show more details in Power BI. and I'm going to click that, and it opens the full-fledged Q&A experience that we just saw. So we have remaining by line item, and now we can ask away, and we can say, hey, maybe I only want to see it for procurement team, and maybe I only want to see it for Q4, and it just adapts and gives you the result. So every time I see this, and it's pretty apparent to me that, hey, this is way faster than any human interaction could be. I mean, imagine asking somebody over a phone or sending them an email or whatever, and gosh, that is way faster. So it works for the business user, it works great for them, and of course it frees you up to focus on the tasks that you really want to do. So that dilemma that we talked about, that most users hit the analysts for even basic questions, well, freedom from that is certainly data joy. All right, so we have looked at a lot of different elements for Power BI front end. We looked at the dashboard, we looked at the reports, we looked at Excel reports connected to the data model, and we looked at natural language Q&A and Cortana. I wanted to show you a little bit of the architecture and talk about the key pieces here. So firstly, we're combining multiple data sets here, and this seems kind of trivial in the Power BI world, but this was heavy lifting back in what I call plain old Excel. And in this case, we're combining finance and HR data. And I mentioned the cost per head metric, and it is really coming from these two disparate worlds, and they're being meshed together so that not only can you show a number for finance, the payroll expense, let's say, and a number from HR, headcount, but you can also define derived metrics such as cost per head, which is A divided by B, and you can slice and dice it by any which way you want. And these metrics, which go across data set, can give you a lot more insight than you ever can gather by looking at these data domains individually. Right, so cost per head, that was a special element in the report that I had mentioned. And again, once you have that metric defined, you can slice and dice it. You can look at it for a specific org, you can look at its trend, however you want to see it. And you don't have to stop at finance and HR. I mean, that's just the example I showed you. I mean, you could combine marketing data, you could combine targets, customer data, market intelligence, heck, social data. And of course, finance folks don't just look at finance. They're really trying to paint a holistic picture of the company. Hey, where's the company headed? Where are the opportunities? Where are the inefficiencies? So pulling together these data sets really helps with that cause. So that's one strength of the Power BI architecture. I have to say that combining multiple data sets is nothing novel. It has been done for ages, but the challenge was that that was done in a very manual, very laborious process, right? So a lot of heavy lifting, copy paste. You get this data here, create a pivot, copy that to another file, and so on and so forth. And whatever you built was a house of cards. I mean, it would deliver you one report and one specific report alone. So the key win here is not only can you combine multiple data sets, but you can still retain easy refresh. By that, I mean either a one-click refresh, or you can even schedule it so that it happens automatically. And the last part is the single source of truth. How many times has it happened to you, perhaps in the old world, where you had report A and report B, and your users complained that, hey, Avi, the numbers in report A don't match the numbers in report B, because each one was custom built, each one had its own formulas. Not anymore. As I mentioned before, the data model is the heart of that, and that has all the DAX measures defined, and they are powering all of your reports across all of the tools. So it could be Power BI, dashboard reports, Excel reports, Q&A, all of those point to the same source. Yeah, that's terrific. That's data joy. So great, that's the key highlights from the architecture perspective. You can combine multiple data sets, still retain easy refresh, and have a single source of truth. So go back to the beginning. We talked about data drudgery to data joy, but maybe some of you finance folks are not buying it. Like, hey, Avi, I don't get it. It's all about the money. It's about the bottom line. Does any of this stuff really help the bottom line? Is it going to help my company succeed? Well, I'll give you this. The conventional approach, the conventional thinking is that you work hard, you succeed, and then you're happy. But a lot of modern research has shown that it's the other way around. Happiness is the precursor to success. So imagine an organization where all those analysts, all those people who are stuck in the data dungeon, right? Instead of doing that, instead of just turning the data wheel, now they're focused on the work that is real value add, the work that they enjoy. Gosh, in that scenario, I would say success is bound to follow. Hope you enjoyed the video. Click the link shown here or down below to get a copy of our best-selling book on Power Pivot and Power BI. Power on, my friends.